What's going on, Minnesota Viking fans? Welcome to the Purple People Podcast. My name is Kyle Smith. We have the crew back this week. Welcome back, boys. Kyle, you were out. We had my friend Mike on last week. Pretty fun. We talked about the Jets game and how they're imploding. I say imploding, but they could be on top of the AFC East tonight, and that would be weird. Between the last episode, the Jets were our last opponent, the Vikings' last opponent. They won in London, and then they fired their head coach 2 days later. So you can say it out loud. The Vikings got the first coach fired at the 2024 season, and it was kind of a baffling move for me. Adam, let's start there. What did you think, since it's been a week since we talked last? Do you think that was a smart thing to do for the Jets?
Well, I saw some of the controversy surrounding that about how some people are believing it was because he wore a certain pin on the sideline during the game, but I'm not sure how much I buy into that. I just think he's a bad fit as a defensive-minded coach on a team that really wanted to center around the offense. I felt like he was a bad fit for the quarterback. It's just not a good situation.
I thought it was really odd that so he's worn this patch before. I forget what his ethnicity or if it's for his religion, whatever. He's worn this before. That's been confirmed. I just thought it was really weird that the offense is struggling, and you got rid of the defensive-minded head coach, and the defense is really good. The Vikings struggled on offense in this game, probably the worst of the season so far. And I don't know. I can see the dynamic of maybe he's just not the guy that brings a locker room together, but they ended up moving on from the offensive coordinator anyways and demoting Aaron Rodgers' favorite guy in the building, Nathaniel Hackett, and they promoted a defensive guy to interim head coach, and then they changed the offensive coordinator. So I just don't understand what they're doing over there, but they could right the ship tonight, and then what a narrative that will be on a Tuesday.
That would be pretty wild.
It'd be crazy. We got a bunch of people in the chat starting out early. Kathy, thank you so much.
I always like seeing Kathy in here. She's an old school person right there.
Long-time listener, Kathy. Always love having you on the show.
Charlotte, we will dedicate the show to you today. Happy birthday. That is amazing.
So I got a question for you guys. How do you feel about Lions fans calling Aiden Hutchinson Hutch? Does that kind of bother you since the Vikings have a Pro Football Hall of Famer named Hutch?
Not at all.
You're fine with recycling nicknames?
Yeah, of course. He has nothing to do with the Vikings, and the Lions have nothing to do with us. I'm fine with that. Short and sweet. I'm much better.
Whenever I see someone say Hutch, I think of, Steve Hutchinson.
Yeah, for us, I could see that, but I'm sure no one in Detroit land knows who Steve Hutchinson is, and that's fine. That's a good segue, too. Let's talk about the injury, but no, I'm fine with it. Why not? Certainly better than it's just a younger generation. And this is like a George Carlin bit from back in the day when he made fun of like soft names, but Aiden is such a younger generation's name. I would much rather people call him Hutch than Aiden.
Just wait until we get President Aiden and stuff like that coming up. It's happening.
Ooh, I didn't even think about that. That's funny.
Yeah, you're right though, Smith. We haven't quite hit the era of like professional athletes being named like Braden and Camden, and
we do have a Skyler in the NFL. That's already here. So.
Yeah, we're getting there pretty close, but I don't have no problem with the Hutch nickname. I mean, it's an abbreviation, a shortening of his last name, so it's cool. And he's an excellent player as well too.
Oh yeah, he's definitely their best player.
If he was a bum, I'd be a little more irritated with it, but nah, I'm not. No ill will towards him. I'm speedy recovery. I want to wish him a speedy recovery as well too. That's a hell of an injury.
He might be back for the Lions Super Bowl.
There you go.
Yeah, at the end of next year, he should be ready to go. If they go next year, they're not going this year, but yeah, sure, they make it next year. Good luck to them.
But boy, did they whoop up on a Mike Zimmer defense.
Bart, before we talk about that, let me just say what I said in here. If your name is Skyler, Braden, my son's name is Kason. Like, I understand. I'm not making fun of your name. It's different. I like different from the regular, like, John is a strong name. Shout out John in the chat. But I've met quite a few Johns and James and Bills. Like,
I don't know, Aiden, Traden, Graydon, Jaden. They're all out there, and they became like popular names.
I didn't even think about that. Not spelled the same way, obviously, but I'm not making fun of you if that's your name. I understand. It would just take some getting used to, like we've had all these like old school traditional games. But yes, the Lions beat the snot out of the Cowboys yesterday. Was that it was in Jerry World too, right?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, they've been terrible at home.
I have no remorse. Cowboys, first of all, I commented on like 3 different posts. My algorithm in Facebook is strictly sports and like old man, like cutting the lawn videos, like lawn care videos. It's funny. But I commented 3 different times today. It's like, when the Cowboys lose, America wins.
I don't think any of us are loving it as much as Stephen A, though.
Popped up on my Twitter last night, and it was pretty awesome. But it sucks. Like, I do think they are a product of kind of their own consequences there. You had to pay CD. I don't think you had to pay Dak. I truly don't believe
you did not have to pay Dak.
And Charlotte is right. That happened on Jerry Jones' birthday, too.
Yeah.
I heard that today. It's the Lions were trying to score 82 points for Jerry yesterday. But I don't think you have to pay Dak. I am not on the ship of crippling your cap for a quarterback. Like, Brock Purdy is a great example right now. If you do your job everywhere else, you can go and find a kid in the later rounds who can do great things. And it wasn't a fluke. Like, Brock Purdy is good, and he fits that system. Going to the NFC Championship and having a one-off, cool. Going to the Super Bowl the very next year, like, no, he knows how to run this team. You can do this in a very different way. The Cowboys are doing, much like Mike Zimmer, they're made for each other. They're doing things the old school way that doesn't work, and they're still trying to make it work. And it is the literal definition of insanity. And we talked about it on the show a couple months ago, maybe last month, whenever that article came out where Zimmer just decided to throw haymakers at everybody in an interview.
Oh, yeah. Right before the season started.
I don't understand that move, and it did make me think a lot less of Mike Zimmer, but I'm not going to be sad for him when his coaching style has been passed over. And, dude, you kind of deserve it now. That double A gap blitz, it's not working, and I understand. The Cowboys are down. They're decimated with injuries, but it's looking like him and Mike McCarthy are going to get canned after this year, and that's not a good way to go out.
The first-round quarterback has been far from a guaranteed thing in the NFL lately. I mean, if you've been watching Bo Nix, you are really wondering, does this guy have even close to what it takes? And then you're looking at Jaden Daniels, and you're like, okay, why wasn't he number 1 overall? He looks amazing.
Yeah, low-key, kind of the best thing to happen to J.J. McCarthy might have been this little minor injury that he had here, this little small setback. For him to just sit and have some time to process everything and not have to play right away. We kind of laughed at Atlanta when they signed Kirk Cousins and then drafted Michael Penix. But, man, this whole throwing the rookie quarterbacks just under the fire in the ringer right away, you kill a lot of careers really quickly with that. And for the Cowboys and Mike Zimmer, I don't know how long you keep him as your defensive coordinator, man. I mean, you look at what have you done for me lately. It was not some good defenses during his last couple years in Minnesota, and it's not a good defense right now in Dallas. No. And I know you can say you're injured and you've missed players here and there, dude. That's every team in the league. Like, you gotta be better than that. You've got to.
I feel bad for him because in that interview he said, he's like, I just wanted to prove that I could coach one more time. And he's going to have a very sour end to his coaching tenure because he's not going to get a chance after this. And especially from last year, like, yeah, Kyle's right. And I do put the variable out there when I'm debating this, talking this, whatever, is injuries matter. Micah Parsons not on the field changes the defense. But like you said, everybody's hurt, man. Like, it's week 6. Everybody's dinged up. And that's the other point, too, where the devil on my shoulder goes, well, you should have drafted better. Yeah. They did nothing in the offseason to help themselves. So I'm laughing at the Cowboys failing because their fans are fucking obnoxious. But I'm also like, as a former Viking head coach who was here and won a lot more than he did lost, like, I kind of felt bad for him. But, man, that article a couple of months ago really soured my opinion on Zimmer. And I don't feel bad for the Cowboys as a whole. Like we said this on this show 100 times, and it's all over the internet in millions of places. But when Jerry Jones is no longer around, that'll be the best thing forward for this team. Assuming Steven doesn't do the same stupid stuff that he does Because like we said last night, one of the pages I was talking about on Facebook, he's the only owner who comes out and talks after games. Dude, shut up and go live on your yacht and eat caviar until you die. This has nothing to do with you. You don't
It's
care
turning
about
into an
winning.
Al Davis situation right here.
It's so bad. It's so bad.
But I think you're right. I think if Mike Zimmer does want to go out in the NFL, he wants to stick around after this year, he might have to go all the way down to being a positional coach again. Because I don't know if he's going to get a defensive coordinator job again.
Would his ego let him step down and be a defensive backs coach on some other team?
That's a great question.
I
5 years ago, I think he would, Kyle. But now he's old. Dude, enjoy your grandkids. You have however many millions. Just go chill, man. He won a Super Bowl with the Cowboys back in the 90s. I think he was, the cornerbacks coach? Like, just bask in the glory days and just admit to yourself, like, the game passed me by. That's what's happened. The game has passed his style of everything. So, hey, just go enjoy it. There's no way at his age he's going to go in and be like, because he's a cornerback guru. I'm assuming he'd be a defensive backs coach.
Mm-hmm.
Right. There's guys my age that are in the NFL that are defensive backs coach, and they're like trying to climb the ladder to get up into OCs and head coaching jobs. Like, he's going to go back down with that.
Dude, how old's Kevin O'Connell?
39?
38, 39?
Yeah.
I don't even think he's 40. Like that, like you said, that's like our age, Smith. So, yeah.
I think that's over. I think this is his last year, and it's going to end terribly, but a lot of careers end terribly. Look at Favre, Hall of Famer, and his last year with us was awful. It was, 11 touchdowns to 19 interceptions that year? It was fucking bad. So
knocked out, gets a concussion by the Chicago Bears
dies on the Minnesota Gophers field.
Frozen fucking field that they shouldn't have been on in the first place.
Yeah. I remember that so vividly. I was like, oh, he's out. Like, he's not getting up. Oh, that's not good. I asked in the chat here, are the Vikings the best in the NFC? It always feels, you guys tell me if I'm wrong, but after a bye week, even when you're doing well, Vikings don't have a loss yet. Feels like everything cools off a little bit on the Vikings because they're not in the news. They didn't have something to talk about. Meanwhile, the rest of the NFC North all won yesterday. Every team has at least 4 wins and easily the best division in football. So I put the question out here, are the Vikings the best in the NFC? And MC Sports, I respect this so much because I've seen it for years to come, and I'm not sure that I'm fully bought in on the small sample size of this season. Probably just my PTSD as a fan, but he says, I think the Niners are the best, and it's between the Niners and the Lions.
Now, we're talking about a healthy Niners team when they get their players back, and they will look different than they did earlier this season, which could be a bit scary. I mean, at this moment, I don't think you can look past the only undefeated team in the NFC.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
But when we're looking down the road, I mean, there are teams that are going to get healthy at the right time, get things going at the right time, and they're going to be scary. And let's be honest, right now, the NFC North is so competitive, so good. Even the Bears are making things look great. I mean, the other 3 teams in the division blew their opponents out this week. It wasn't even like games, none of them.
Do we all agree that 2 years ago, this was kind of a fraudulent 13-14? A little bit?
A little bit.
Oh, maybe like a little Salt Bay splash of fraudulent. I think they were good.
I'll say they were very lucky and fortunate.
Yeah.
I fully am riding the Bears being way worse than their record shows.
When you look at their opponents, I mean, you're probably right on.
They've beaten some really bad teams, and hey, good for them. You should be beating them after, especially the improvements they had. In the offseason everywhere to support Caleb Williams. But yeah, I'm gonna pump the brakes on the Bears. The Packers, legitimate. I believe they're good. I know Detroit is good. Detroit, in my opinion, poses the biggest threat for the rest of the schedule this year for the Vikings.
I kind of hate that Jordan Love's good. Well, can they stop getting decent quarterbacks? What is this?
And they got a really good coach. I do like Matt LaFleur a lot. I do. I think he's a very good coach. And I think as the time rolls on, the more Rodgers is like Favre, and he maybe won't admit it, I think he might have been more of the reason the Green Bay lost than that coach, because I'm very impressed last year with them going and dog walking Dallas in Dallas. Like, that was hilarious to me. Yeah, they're just well coached, man. I agree with you. I think 3 teams from the NFC North could get in the playoffs this year. And
oh yeah, very possible.
It's funny because everybody left us for the bottom of the division, and going pretty good so far. We'll see. The Lions
Well-
pose the biggest threat, in my opinion, to the rest of the schedule for the Vikings.
It's funny though to see the people that stepped up and are like, "Oh, I was wrong about Sam Darnold. He's looking really good." And you got the other people who are like, "We're just waiting for the shoe to fall. He's gonna mess up and be terrible."
That's me.
And that polarizing opinion on Sam Darnold is going to keep going until he makes a couple more mistakes. And I know he didn't have his best game against the Jets, but he was far from terrible.
I expected it, honestly, just in my super great football analysis and opinion. This is a great defense. It was a good test. He didn't play well. They were in another country that we don't ever take that into effect fully. Like they're in a different time zone, very far away from where they're usually playing. Like that has an effect on it. I'm still mad at you, NFL. Stop putting games at 9:30 in the freaking morning. That's stupid. But I'm looking at it.
Jaguars and Bears this week. No, thank you.
Oh, it's gross. So I'll read these off just because I tried to zoom out as much as I could to read them. But here's the rest of the slate going into December 1st. So this is the rest of October, all of November, and then the 1st of December where we'll stop. So you're at home this Sunday, the 20th, for the Lions. Now, we've talked about Aiden Hutchinson, and I'll briefly touch on that. This is from the Detroit Free Press. Fans well know during the game, defensive end Aiden Hutchinson broke his leg, specifically both bones below the knee, and underwent surgery immediately.
Yeah, that video was disgusting.
Yeah, I'm glad they didn't show it. It's on Twitter, but I'm glad they didn't replay it in there. But the good news is it's not a compound injury, so it's not like one of those where hey, we don't even know if he's going to be able to walk again. So he'll be out for a while, but hey, we don't do that thing here where we laugh at stuff like that. That's just not classy. We don't do that.
No, he is one heck of a player.
He's a great player, and I'm not going to lie, it came at a great time for us. Like the terrible part of me said, damn, right before the first game with us too, I was like, well, that's great timing for us. That sucks for him and Detroit, but I wouldn't take that lightly as a Viking fan. This team's going to be ready to play, and in my personal opinion, I think he's their best player. Because
I want to say he was leading the league in sacks, right?
He was. He's having a great year, and I personally think he's their best player, but I also know that roster in itself is amazing. It's stacked, and him being out is not going to derail their whole season. So this team's going to be ready to play, and they're fighting for the division right now because they're one game behind us. But read through these really quickly. So week 7 this Sunday, home against the Lions. Quick turnaround on Thursday night on the 24th in LA versus the Rams. They're decimated by injuries, so that'll be an interesting game for Kevin O'Connell going back there to where his former employer was. Week 9 at home versus the Colts on November 3rd. And then there is a 3-game road stretch here that bodes well for the Vikings, but you can't overlook these guys. At Jacksonville on November 10th, at Tennessee November 17th, and then at the Bears on the 24th, and then rounding out week 13 at home for the Cardinals. They start a 3-game home stretch after that, so that's cool. 3 on the road, 3 there, but I like this stretch of the schedule. If it goes the way it should, which it won't because I said that now, they should walk out of this with no more than 2 losses for these, next 6 games?
I am not afraid of the Titans at all. Will Levis is not it.
I'm not afraid of the Jaguars or the Colts either. The AFC South is not good.
I'm a little more worried about Joe Flacco.
Well, yeah, he's good, but I think our team and being at home will help. But yeah, right. Joe Flacco is still.
And Trevor Lawrence isn't looking like a player that we all thought he might be.
I don't believe in Trevor Lawrence. You see flashes and glimpses of it, and I don't know if it's just Jacksonville being a cursed organization and that kid just needs out of there to be able to be good, or a new head coach or what. But they paid him like he's elite, and he's not.
Well, here's a great transition. MC Sports says, I hope we get Aaron Jones back in a couple weeks. You're talking about Jacksonville, Kyle. MC Sports is talking about Aaron Jones. This is the topic that I wanted to discuss today. I think the Vikings should go after a running back in free agency for Aaron Jones insurance. I think that's their greatest need on the roster.
See, I would say before the trade deadline, but the Vikings don't really have a lot of trade capital at this moment.
They don't, and that's going to be the magic of it. Who can you wrangle up? And that would be the first place I would look, is call and ask about Travis Etienne Or if you want to get a cheap steal, call the Carolina Panthers. They're still in the dumpster for the
Did you
last
see
3
Mike
years.
Florio saying the Vikings should try to trade for Matthew Stafford?
Yeah, he's a
No,
fucking
why?
idiot. He's so stupid. God,
No.
I fucking hate that dude. He's so dumb, and he has a huge platform, and he just does rage bait all the time. He's so fucking lazy. Yes. Well, hold on. Let me finish that, and then I'd love to shit on Mike Florio. Yeah. Call Carolina and the back up there. You're not gonna get Chuba Hubbard. He's a good running back. They want to keep something offense, but Miles Sanders is there.
I mean, do they? They once traded Christian McCaffrey.
Well, that's the thing too. That's why I'm picking on both of these teams who are very bad, because they could get rid of some pieces now at the deadline because their seasons are pretty much over already.
Well, didn't the Jaguars today trade one of their best pass rushers too?
Did they? Didn't hear about this.
I don't remember the name, but I remember seeing the graphic.
Oh, that's great. I'll look it up.
Because I know this is the time of year when you're going to see like those organizations that are really struggling trying to dump some players and get some capital for the future. And Jacksonville is one of those teams right now that I don't think they're going to make a lot of noise. So why not try to accumulate some assets in the meantime and see what you can do with them?
2 hours ago, per ESPN, the Seahawks trade for defensive tackle Robertson Harris. 3 hours ago, Jaguars trading defensive lineman Roy Robertson Harris to the Seahawks for a 2026 6th-round pick. Yeah, let's do it. Call some teams. Get another running back.
Yeah, make it happen.
And I'm not saying – look, I want to say this too on the show. I'm not pooing on who's our second?
Ty Chandler.
Ty Chandler. He's a North Carolina kid. I love him. I remember watching him in college.
If not for Ty Chandler's game against the 49ers, he would be averaging less than 2 yards a carry.
Yeah, it's not good. We need somebody else.
And Aaron Jones right now is day-to-day, so hopefully he can come back soon. But even then, I mean, even if you do get Aaron Jones back right now, that's no guarantee he's going to be able to stay in the lineup, especially if you give him a heavy workload.
So here's the thing. It's not to take away anyone's job. It's just to have that security. And there's a clear drop-off from just like last year when we missed Dalvin Cook, and then we had Alexander Madison. There's a level, like a staircase to this, and I think the drop-off is significant. I think Aaron Jones is a great player.
Speaking of Madison, did he score again last week?
Yeah, good for him. I watched it yesterday. As the Raiders get blown out again, they're so bad. But yeah, I think that you should try, if you're going to go all in on the season, you should. And I think that they should be bought in. The team's doing very well, especially if they beat the Lions this week. You got to figure something out to like what else do we need to do for insurance? And we'll talk about like kind of a segue that you were mentioning, Adam, like talking about other players. Other players want to come back to the team. Patrick Peterson was mentioned this weekend about wanting to come back and play for the Vikings.
Right.
Oh, he's cooked. I don't know what we're doing with Patrick Peterson at this point.
I won't say he's cooked. I think that Donatel defense was very bad.
Yeah.
I do think Peterson can come back and be like a veteran cornerback 4 or something like that. I don't see him being into the starting lineup or something. But
he's not going to start, but that's fine. I could put him in, rotate him when Gilly needs a player or two off. Like, that's cool.
Right.
I mean, yeah. I get what you guys are saying. Like, if you're absolute depth signing, just have him on the roster. Like,
but he's sitting at home right now, getting the urge to play football. I mean, if you're going to take a small contract to come play, all right.
I also like this one here. We talked about it on the show. Latavius Murray and Jerick McKinnon are still out there. He'd be a good fit. He's a big back. I want a back that's a little more shifty and speedy. Ty Chandler's a big body. I would like to have
big back, and I picture these running backs as like huge butts running.
Do you remember when Mike Mayock used to do his pre-draft like breakdown of all the players, and he had all those insane phrases? I'll never forget bubble butt lineman.
No, Nick Chubb's not going anywhere, man. He's getting ready to come back to Cleveland. Unfortunately.
Why would anyone want to come back to Cleveland?
They get everything they deserve. I'll tell you, this is just the internal struggle I get. Not that you guys care, but I deleted 7 or 8 tweets today where I was absolutely shitting on the Browns.
What was that wild stat I sent you about Watson on 3rd down?
What, he hasn't converted like 38 straight?
Yeah, that's
30
crazy.
36 or 38.
Not to one up you, Adam, but here's the even crazier thing. Kevin Stefanski was asked about him, and they said he is going to start going forward. Kevin Stefanski, two-time coach of the year, is going to get fired before they change quarterback there. And
The only way he's not going to get fired is if he was told to be doing this from the GM.
He has to be told, hey, the owner is telling you, like, we paid this dude, we got to start him. You have to do what the Broncos did with Russell Wilson and eat that contract and get him the hell out of there. He's not the same guy he was in Houston. And it's not like
he has that Albert Hainsworth, I got paid, I don't give a fuck energy.
I don't even think it's that, Kyle. I don't think it's that. I don't think it is. I think he knows, and this is pure speculation, internet, preface here. I don't know what happened. I wasn't in the room for all these crazy allegations and possible assaults. I believe that's weighing on him so badly because I think my opinion is he's a piece of shit human and he did a lot of bad things with women. It's weighing on him, and he can feel a bunch of the public hating him for what he did, even though he's denying, which I think is even more scummy. Cool. That's weighed down so bad. And you got to think he took a whole year off from football, and he has not looked anything like that guy. It's been, 4 years since he looked that good? He's a terrible, but he's in his own head. He's terrible on the field now. He's not a good person. And they're doubling down and supporting this dude. It's like, cut your foot off to save your leg, man. It's hemorrhaging right now. You've got to fix that. And they are never going to be anything while he's the quarterback. It's so bad. He looks mentally defeated. And who was it? Kurt Warner the other day? He's breaking down film and watching him. He's like, I don't know what he's looking at here. I have no idea. No logical reason you should be making the decision he made here. It's like, what'd you say earlier, Kyle? He's cooked? He's cooked, dude.
He's cooked. Yeah,
he's cooked. You got to get rid of him. And they're going to lose a great – I love Kevin Stefanski. I loved him when he was here in Minnesota. Love that for him. Love the recognition he was getting. They have a great roster. But this is the point where, like, he's so bad, in my opinion. Guys like Myles Garrett would be like, I'm not going out to play for this dog shit team. Trade me somewhere so I can win a Super Bowl. Like, that's going to start happening.
So flippin'
they're going to turn into the Raiders.
It's so flippin' funny that Cleveland was actually winning. They had a head coach. Yes, that they had a head coach that they believed in, that players believed in Kevin Stefanski. They had Baker Mayfield. He was playing well for them. Baker has one season where he's playing through it hurt, and they immediately throw him under the bus. They bring in the rapist.
And Baker led them to the playoffs.
Won a playoff game.
Yeah.
Won a freaking playoff game. And then they're like
the organization immediately went, we don't know what to do. Let's screw everything up and just go back to being terrible again. Because you're right. Kevin Stefanski is going to get fired. He's going to become the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, and he'll be the guy to unlock Trevor Lawrence or something weird like that.
Sorry, I'm texting on the show.
But making the way back to the Vikings, we do have some pretty cool news that came with two players got their practice windows opened for the team to return to action. TJ Hawkinson and Dalton Reisner.
Here we go.
Yes.
I don't know what their plan is going to be for Dalton Reisner because I don't know if they want to insert him in the starting lineup or just have him as depth. But one thing for certain is that he will be a player that they can do something with, whether it's rotating or plugging him in or what the plan is. But he is a good offensive lineman.
He's a good offensive lineman. He's a great backup to have. I don't think that you immediately throw him in, but in case something happens, you need to shake it up, whatever, you've got that depth.
And for a guy that played left guard all year, I don't know if you want to plug him in immediately at right guard and see if, just see what sticks. I know it's not that big of a change. I mean, it is as far as shifting your body and your body weight and all that. It's something that a lot of fans don't understand, is that those positions on the offensive line are quite different. I mean, you got to change your tendencies, you got to change your mindset, you got to change quite a bit.
What's funny is I saw a meme about this because my Twitter is nothing but UFC and Viking stuff. It's and the Vikings had the opportunity to do the funniest thing ever because I was mentioning earlier that you call the Jaguars to get Travis Etienne because you want to get running back depth. Well, Ezra Cleveland is down there. It's like, if you want to do a fire sale, we'll take him back real quick because he was damn good while he was
right
here.
Now the highest rated pass blocker, I believe, in the NFL by Pro Football Focus.
Really?
Bring him in. He knows the facility and everybody. Bring him back. We don't have any assets to trade for this.
Yeah, he is absolutely thriving down there.
That's awesome. Good for you. Shout out Ezra Cleveland.
Yeah, I know the trade deadline's coming up soon, but I don't think the Vikings are going to be too active. I don't think there's anyone that they're going to try to shop on the team. Like,
Well,
I
I
don't
also
see
don't see
anyone.
them moving their first rounder, and then what do they got? 2 5th-rounders, I think.
And
Yeah,
a
and they
third,
exactly
maybe.
where I was going. They don't have the capital to really make any kind of moves. And they're not giving up their first, and I don't think they're going to be giving up any future, 2026 draft picks or whatever.
But I do think they are seeing positions where they could use a little help or depth, and running back is definitely one of them. And I wouldn't be surprised to see them try to make some moves. I don't know if they'll succeed, but I think they'd want to.
Could you package Dalton Reisner and a 5th to get yourself a running back?
Maybe.
Possibly.
I mean, there's not a lot of options. There's not a lot of players on this team that really stand out as like, yeah, let's go ahead and move on from him because the season is going really well. So there's no reason to. I don't want to do a lot of movement with that roster right now.
Yeah, you're right. At a round 1, 2025 draft pick and 2 5ths, that's what they're sitting on.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
I'll bookmark this
not.
right now. If you could make this a prop in a sports betting app somewhere, this will 100% change. They will acquire other assets, and
there are compensatory picks coming too, but we don't know what those will be yet.
I'm not even talking comp picks. I feel fully that if they don't do anything up to draft night to get other capital and however they want to do that, they will trade back and get more picks. That 100%. They're not going to roll into next year and be like, "Fuck it, we'll take one blue chip dude and then 2 guys that might not make the team next year." Like they're not going to do that. So
maybe. I mean, maybe.
I don't know if they have a guy up at that point in the draft where they think they're going to pick and they want that guy. I say go for it. If the guy you want is there, you go get him. That's just the way I see the NFL draft,
Correct.
I agree. If there's a guy they fall in love with, that's great. But
I have already seen some projections of like mock drafts from next year already, talking about how things are going to go, and some of them have the Vikings picking 32nd, which is interesting.
I'll never believe it. I'll never believe it.
Well, Smith and I have talked about this. Where's Travis Hunter going, Adam? Is he going to be drafted as a wide receiver or is he drafted as a defensive back? Like, I'm really curious to see how the NFL views him.
Which one is he better at? That's my question. I don't know. I'm not following college football at all because I have a basketball school that I love.
Is Prime going to move to coaching the NFL? That's a question.
So I could see him ending up, especially if they keep Mike Zimmer on the Dallas Cowboys staff, especially if they draft his kid.
God,
that seems like that seems like the most Jerry Jones thing imaginable, right? Like, we just paid Dak a lot of money, but we like Deion, so let's draft his son, and then let's also hire Deion Sanders to be on the coaching staff.
God, what a circus that place would be. Oof. I feel like they're not going to be able to pay Micah. He's going to walk next year. You just paid CD and Dak, so how are you going to pay him too? He's going to ask for $35 million.
He can come to Minnesota. He can take less money and be a Viking. That would be fucking amazing.
Kyle West has a little bit of Vikings news there in the chat right before this went. Jalen Redmond of the Minnesota Vikings, who was released by the team earlier this week, maybe late last week, has returned to the team on the practice squad, so that's good news.
Nice. I did see that before we got started. So that's your breaking news today on the Purple People Pod. You're welcome. Heard that first.
Yep. I know it's always a good thing when the guys that you've drafted and developed or can bring along back to your practice squad.
And Redmond looked good in the preseason. I mean, he's a player you might be able to grow and develop over time, and he might not be that immediate starter that comes in and makes a lot of noise, but he's a guy that could develop into being a good regular contributor, and those guys can be huge in building a team.
So I don't understand how this works. As we translate
comp picks, no one understands those.
No, not that. I don't
formula.
Sorry, I should give context before I do that a lot. I've noticed that about myself. Sorry, guys. I'm looking at the game for Sunday. Vikings are 5-0. We're at home. Detroit is 4-1. And I'm looking here, first of all, questionable status right now. Aaron Jones is questionable. Dalton Reisner, IR. TJ Hawkinson, IR. Nick Muse. All right. We'll get updates later. It's only Tuesday. But the matchup predictor here on ESPN has a 58.2% chance of swinging in Detroit's favor, but Minnesota right now is favored at 2.5. How in the hell does that make sense?
They see the matchup as being pretty open. Actually, when you look at it that way, they are actually saying that Detroit is a half-point favorite and Minnesota has 3 points for home field advantage. That's the way it usually goes.
Because I always know the team with the minus is the favorite, but they're a
Right.
2.5-point favorite at home. So anything in field goal or less, they think the game will be pretty close.
And
But
home field is usually 3 points.
Okay. So they think this is an even game. This would be split down the middle on a neutral field. But they're saying here in the matchup predictor, 58.2% for Detroit. Okay.
Which kind of accommodates where they're half a point difference in the odds too. So it makes sense.
Adam, there's a Steiner math joke to be made about
Oh,
now.
there sure is.
66.
By the way,
and
Minnesota people, Scott Steiner is coming to Minnesota, so go and meet him and have him teach you some math. Do it.
Look up that promo if you don't know what we're talking about. It's top 10 all-time Steiner math
So good.
promo.
So I'll put it out here for this game. I don't know if the Vikings win this game. I think based on the point differential, which is nuts, by the way, if you look it up, Vikings lead the league in point differential, and right behind them, I think 3 points less are the Lions. So this is good.
Well,
This
the
should
Cowboys
be
really helped.
yeah, for sure. They only lost one game this season. That was week 2 against Tampa Bay. That's cool. Tampa Bay got their loss from the playoffs back. Oh, they were in Detroit too. That's cool. Yeah, they beat up on the Seahawks and the Cowboys. They beat Arizona by a touchdown. So they're slowly getting their strength. Obviously, we talked about Aiden Hutchinson being out. That's going to be a little detrimental for them. But I think this is going to be the toughest matchup all year for Minnesota because they have the horses on both sides to like really get after it. I forgot some of the players they drafted on defense that are really good. I forgot Brian Branch went there. What a great safety they have. He had a great.
You
day
mentioned
yesterday.
Arizona, and boy, they looked really terrible against Green Bay this week.
Yeah, I'm excited that they're on the schedule this year.
They looked like I don't want to be rude, but they looked really bad.
Good. I like that. Sergio, thank you for that update. Laquan Treadwell is on the Colts practice squad.
But did you say Kyler Murray finally got his endorsement and his sponsorship from Call of Duty?
I like how he was clapping back at fans about that too. Like, you guys talk about that shit. Now look who's a sponsor. That's pretty cool. Where was I going with picking this game, though? I had something I wanted to point out, and I forgot what it was. Either way, I think this is going to be the toughest matchup for the Vikings all year. We mentioned for like the next 6 or 7 games. The Vikings on paper have a favorable stretch coming up. You shouldn't overlook any team, obviously, but based on the talent and just this team in particular, only focusing on this year, this team seems like they're built to do that. The problem with Detroit is they just don't really have a gaping need anywhere. Like, I think the running back room is one of the best in the NFL. They've got 2 sneaky good wide receiver, 1 and 2, a good tight end. Their O-line might be the best in the NFL.
Yeah.
Penei Sewell might be one of the best tackles in the league. And then you flip to the defensive side. They signed, I don't know if he's playing or not. They signed DJ Reader. That made me mad. I really wanted the Vikings to sign him. They've got good linebackers. I really like their secondary, even though that looks to be on paper like their weakness. They have some big names there. And I don't know. It's interesting to see who can generate the pressure this weekend. This is my point I was going to make. We have the 2 teams that have the biggest point differential in the NFL, right? So you're expecting like a 40-39 game. I guarantee you this weekend will be 21-10-19 or some stupid shit like that. It'll be very boring, and it'll be not high scoring at all. I feel like that's what we're in store for. The anticipation will be high flying, and it'll be a really 21-17 game. And that's what I'll put my marker down on. That's my prediction for this weekend.
Yeah, there is no Trayvon Diggs on either of these teams to get burnt for a 70-yard touchdown.
Trayvon Diggs catching strays on this show.
I mean, when he plays well, he can jump a pass and get an interception and look great. But boy, when he gets burnt, he gets burnt.
He lives and dies by that method, and it's a very risky thing to do. I think that's funny. I mentioned he's on 17 since getting cut by the Vikings. Yeah, that was a whiff. I think it's safe to say we can finally say 9 years later that was a bust. Yeah, we'll definitely be tested. I agree. This is the toughest test of the year.
I've been
Green
saying
Bay-
that every game this year, and this is true again. I think Detroit has the possibility. They are the team that could hand Minnesota the first loss, and I actually might not be that mad if they lose to Detroit because Detroit is a very good team.
They're really solid, and I always get a little leery coming off the bye week as well too. It always feels to me like you're a little flat coming off a bye.
Correct.
I don't know if that's maybe just tendencies from
But
old
just came
coaching
off a
stats
bye,
or whatever.
didn't they? Or are they going into a bye?
I'm not sure.
All I know is I'm glad, Kyle, I agree with you, but I'm glad it's not an away. If it was an away game, I would expect them to come out and be sloppy. But if it's at home, I like to think there'll be a little juice for the team and they'll be excited. This is where we find out what this team is about. This next 5-game stretch going into November is where you find out because it's almost the middle of October. So these next 5 games,
the Vikings' first loss to the Jaguars, I'm done.
that game.
I'm really curious to see how Sam Darnold bounces back. I think that Jets game was probably the most Sam Darnold-ish performance of the season from him. It was overall not a good offensive performance by the Vikings in general. So they had a week. You get to do the whole elusive self-scout thing, however much you want to buy into that. That's what they've been doing or what they are doing. Let's see what adjustments the team can make coming out, kind of reset themselves. I think that game with the Jets really showed you how important, to the point that Smith was making, Aaron Jones is to the Vikings and that run game. Not having him not having him healthy was a really big loss for this team. So we'll see how they can bounce back. I believe in this team, though, man. They're scrappy. They find ways to win. They're a good football team, man.
But what happens when Minnesota comes out and they can't get a lead early on? And we've seen them fall apart in the second half. If they don't get that early lead, do you think they're in trouble?
It'd be a big test
they
for
can find
them.
a way. I think I've seen Jared Goff perform not well under pressure, so it'll be interesting to see if they can keep that. That's why I think it's going to be at 21.
I've also seen Goff play a game where he doesn't throw an incomplete pass. So I mean,
it's true.
What do you do?
He didn't play the Vikings that game, so that's what I'll hang my hat there. Like, yeah, you hadn't played Brian Flores' defense this year.
I did see Sam Darnold got Offensive Player of the Month recently.
That's true.
So
Yeah, for September. That was very good. Didn't have that on my bingo card.
No, definitely not.
Not playing with the lead. Yeah, that's why I predicted a 21-17. That's what I'm saying. Like, these are two very good teams, and naturally when that happens, outside of an abomination like this past Sunday, them playing the Cowboys, hopefully we don't have that happen. Yeah, they're going to battle it out, and it's going to be kind of tough. I love this defense. I think that they kind of drive the team. When the offense is clicking, I mean, we saw it in Green Bay the first half, and we saw it in New York. We saw it.
Those scripted plays that the Vikings come out with at the beginning of the game for each, so good. So good. You run those efficiently and effectively, and you are going to put an opposing defense on their heels, and it's going to be great.
Yeah, MC Sports, I've said this the last month. I don't like that they have Jahmyr Gibbs. I really, really like him. I laughed at that pick. I was like, y'all are stupid for picking a running back that high. And I ate crow on that several times since. He's very good. He's very fast. I love his cuts. I love his vision. He's got a great vision. And
one thing I got to stop thinking like, okay, here's a positional need, and they should be picking that instead of the higher potential player at a position they might not need as much.
Mm-hmm.
Because that has haunted me so much in the past, that type of thinking. And I know it's easy to think that way, being like, oh, the Vikings could use a cornerback this year. Oh, what are they drafting a linebacker for? What the heck?
And I mean, Adam,
be very good.
It's not just you who falls into that trap. I mean, there are times that it felt like Rick Spielman fell into that trap of like, we need X position, therefore I'm going to reach and grab this player, even though he is not the best available player on the board. Right. Maybe there was a running back or someone else who was far more talented, but we decided coming into this draft that we need a corner in round 1, and we're taking a corner regardless of who is available on the board. So that's not just you. Like, professional scouts and GMs fall into that trap as well.
And it's an easy one to fall into, especially as a fan, to get mad at picks when you think you want a certain guy on your team and that guy is not the pick, and you get mad and you get frustrated, and then that player comes in and it's just great.
One of my favorite stories, we've told it before. There was a little bit of, why did we draft Adrian Peterson? We had Chester Taylor. He's coming off a 1,000-yard season. He was looking really good. We needed a quarterback at the time. We were looking at who was the one that fell, Brady Quinn.
Quinn. Yep.
And Randy Moss wasn't a need at the time either.
Yeah, man.
I'm hoping that JJ McCarthy does that for me. I did not want him. I'm on record to say that I wanted Drake May, and I hope that he makes me eat crow there.
Did you ever see Chris Carter when he was talking about when the Vikings drafted Randy Moss, and he was like, what are you drafting this kid for? We don't need him.
Well,
which, I mean,
it wasn't wrong, but man, that worked out pretty well. That's cool.
It sure did. But yeah, that's how a lot of these players too. Like, I know Chris Carter had that time in the past when he was, having his problems with drugs and, leaving the Eagles and all that, and how he could mentally want that job security that he didn't have in the past or didn't feel. And then kind of being intimidated when a player like Randy Moss comes to the team. I see how that could be a little frustrating. But, with JJ McCarthy, the Vikings did need a quarterback, and we knew they were going to do what they could to get one. But I also didn't like that I also loved that they weren't desperate enough to try to move up. Well, I know they tried to move up into the top 3, but I'm glad they didn't actually pay, multiple number ones to go and get it.
I also think too, like, not piggybacking off your guys' story, but talking about the draft in general, I think this team and a lot of other teams need to fall into the trap of not overthinking things. Like the year that they traded back and they got Lewis Seen, Kyle Hamilton was sitting right there for the taking. Like that'll be one of the recent ones in memory of recent year that I'll be pissed about for a while, because he is such a good player. And I understand that's kind of Baltimore's identity, is just really hard-nosed, tough defense. But I can't help but think, like, Harrison Smith's getting older, but he's still playing very well. Cam Bynum's been a great story, and I hope that he stays.
I did read that they are working on an extension with Bynum, so who knows? Maybe that gets done during the season. You never know. That's
awesome. And I also like Metellus being there. I think it's a good group of guys. Collectively, I don't think any one of those guys at this point in their career, any one of them are like A-plus players. Kyle Hamilton would have been, but the Vikings are figuring it out. But it's, to my point, like, teams need to not overthink stuff like that. Like that whole thing of like, well, we'll find somebody with value. That doesn't work out nearly as much, man. Like, I know the draft is a crapshoot, but being like, well, we'll get this guy for a discount. It's like, all right, well, you could have had this dude over here who looks very good. So I hope they don't stick with that very often.
I also do blame that transition from the GM for scouting and all that for being a huge mess that first year of Kwesi's GM leadership, because I don't think he had the type of information that he felt comfortable with heading into that draft at all.
I agree, Adam. I don't get too worked up looking back at that first draft. They've made good moves after that. Kwesi has talked about how they have more data to run their analytics, their system that they want to run. And every year that they scout, they get more data to put into that, and which means they get better at doing their job. So, of course, the first year, first-time general manager, there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve with that. Like, it sucks, but I give him a pass with it.
I would be interesting to see how Rick Spielman kept his research on potential draft picks, because I wonder how he evaluated and weighed everything compared to how Kwesi Adofo-Mensah would,
I know they used analytics because I had heard Spielman talk about using analytics and collecting data and all those points. I don't think they lean into it as much as what the Vikings currently do. I always thought that Rick was more of a draft from my gut kind of GM.
Yeah.
Like, I listen to all the scouts, I take in all the info, I listen to the analytics, but at the end of the day, I'm going with what's right here. and I'm drafting guys based on what I think, which, hey, sometimes that's a really good thing to do. Occasionally you butt heads with your head coach and you create a
And he doesn't
shit
text you
storm.
until the next day.
Yeah, and you create a shit storm because of that too.
Oh, what a mess that was. Well, I hate to make it that awkward pause and transition, but I think that's it, man. The Vikings play the Lions Sunday. It's at home in Minnesota, and
Is it a noon kickoff?
yeah, it's a one. So
Yep.
it's good you brought
Okay.
that up, Kyle. I looked it up earlier, and I was going to bring it up here. The Vikings only have 2 primetime games the rest of the year. They have the Thursday night game next Thursday, October 24th. So that'll be a Thursday night game in LA versus the Rams, and then they have the Sunday night game, December 16th at home for the Bears.
Speaking of things I don't understand, if they keep winning, they're bound to be flexed into primetime at some point, right?
I hope not. That's fine. Keep playing the Cowboys.
Have you guys been watching any Giants games this year, aside from the one against Minnesota?
No.
I haven't watched them, but I did see that they're getting better.
Because Greg Joseph is not doing great for them. He's played 4 games for the Giants so far, and in 2 of these games, he did not make a field goal attempt.
Green Bay let him go too, so.
And he missed 2 kicks last week that might have put them in good position to beat Cincinnati. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm glad Minnesota has Will Reichert, but like a lot of Vikings fans, are we waiting for the shoe to fall there too?
Yes, I am.
Always.
I hate to say it, but yeah.
Always. I'm waiting until I come back, and I'm like, well, here it was. We knew it was going to happen eventually. They got schooled, 34 to 13, and it's just an ugly game. And they scored. The only points they scored were at the end in garbage time. Like I'm waiting for it. But yeah, they're going to host the Lions Sunday, and like we said earlier in the show, we'll double down on that. Like, hey, sorry to hear about Aiden Hutchinson. We're not a terrible franchise where we root for injuries and praise them. Glad that he's not going to have like life-threatening, season-ending for like career-ending injuries, but speedy recovery to him. I don't think that's any reason to think that this game will be easier. I think they're very stacked. Even though he is their best player, they've done very well in the last 3 or 4 years, collecting talent and kind of being like a band of misfits almost. Like, I loved receiver. Amon-Ra St. Brown was pissed because he got overlooked for All-Pro, and then
I love the story with Jared Goff of just
that's exactly where I was going
to
next.
The Rams essentially giving up on him. All the analysts being like, yeah, they're basically taking on the contract and he's a bridge quarterback and they're going to move on from him. They rally behind him and he's playing damn good football for them. He fits with what they want to do. I love that story as a football fan in general. Don't like it from a Vikings perspective. Wish they were a little shittier at the quarterback position, but I'll give him all the credit in the world. Jared Goff's a good quarterback.
So I was just reading on Sporting News that they are predicting that the Minnesota Vikings will work out a trade with the Cleveland Browns to get Amari Cooper.
Okay.
Why?
Why not?
I don't know.
Why would we go after we don't need another wide receiver.
Yeah, load up on talent, man.
Go get a running back. Why would you do that? Is he going to play running back for us?
You don't need to run the ball when you can throw it 54 times a game.
Kyle, I will gladly argue till I'm blue in the face with you about that. Just go back 1 year and tell me you don't need to run the ball. Just go back literally 1 season. I am so pissed about last year. And Aaron Jones was out for half a game, and I'm like, crack the emergency glass, call somebody.
I do have some bad news for you guys. So under current NFL rules, Sam Darnold is not eligible to win Comeback Player of the Year, no matter how he plays.
I've seen that. What's the thought process behind that?
I am not sure of the rule, but I know there is a rule where he is not eligible.
It's the Sam Darnold rule. They just put it in play.
That's all right. The only award he's going to need is Super Bowl MVP. That's it.
Ooh. Place that bet on DraftKings.
I'm not placing any bets because I'm not wasting my money. And secondly, I promise you guys, I said it this weekend, shout out to my friends Tim and Georgia. I hung out with them all weekend. Very good, lifelong friends of my dad's. I took Tim and Tim. We're all from North Carolina. He's a super huge Panthers fan, and he's like, "Man, your boys look great. Didn't see Sam Darnold playing that way." I said, "Listen, I know this isn't going to happen, but I have to say it because there is always that little ray of hope. Kind of like if you feed a stray dog, they'll be back the next day. I am the stray dog here. When they start winning, I start believing. If we win the Super Bowl, I said, don't call me. Don't call me for 6 months because I will be an insufferable douchebag the entire offseason. Don't do it. So you should hope that we don't do well for the rest of the season because if we win, if for some odd reason this is the year, I am going to be a complete idiot for 6 months until that first Thursday night kickoff. Don't call me. You're going to hate me. I'm going to wear on this show a Super Bowl hat, a Super Bowl shirt at work. It's not even authorized. I'll be wearing a fucking something Super Bowl really, and I'm like,
oh
hey,
yeah.
Great
when the Vikings win, I'm getting that. I'm getting a tattoo. I'm getting everything Vikings.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to be at that parade. It's going to be great.
It's not going to happen, guys. We're going to lose in the wild card.
But did you guys see that Jalen Naylor was talking about his development as a wide receiver and said that he gives a lot of credit to Keenan McCardell for that?
Who said this?
Jalen Naylor.
Nice. Adam Thielen had great things to say about him too. Obviously, Jefferson did. Like, he's a really good coach, man. I wonder how long he's going to stay here. That's awesome.
And if you get the chance, I know there's a video out there on Sports Illustrated about Aaron Rodgers talking about why the looks that Brian Flores gives in his defense to make things look so confusing. It's a real good and interesting listen, and it's great. If you are a football mind, you will find that really interesting.
Yeah, where's that at, Adam?
That was on Pat McAfee's show.
Sports Illustrated, okay.
He was on Pat McAfee saying the same thing. He came on Wednesday. He usually comes on Tuesday. He came on Wednesday, talking about the solidifier, but he gave a very X's and O's, nerdy football breakdown of why. And he actually said, like, okay, when you get this coverage or this guy's here, this is what's supposed to happen. And I'm like, I don't even know what this means, but it's great to listen. Why did you fix it?
I love those deep dives into the football game. Low key, that's always why I've been irritated with the Peyton Manning simulcast on ESPN because, dude, you have Peyton Manning, and I want him to get that in depth with like everything and just break down all the stuff I don't know about the game, and I don't need him to be whatever nationwide Peyton Manning. Yeah, I don't need that. I want big brain football Peyton Manning for that.
See, Kyle, this is what I wanted from Tony Romo, and they told him to stop. I loved when he told you what was going to happen because what I started picking up on as a football nerd is I started looking at, he's like, oh, yeah, this matchup over here. He's like, the guard's pulling here, or, yeah, this tackle's not doing well against number 98, whatever. I'm like, oh, I'm going to watch the tackle for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
Cool. And then they nix that really quick because they're like, you got to stop telling everybody what's going to happen. They hate it. And I'm like, that's incredible. What are you talking about? And then
because the NFL is scripted.
And did you guys see those videos of Greg Zuerlein and the Jets kicking field goals while the cheerleading team was out there trying to do their thing?
Yeah.
Well, apparently the Vikings cheerleaders are not happy about that. That was their time, and the kicker should have not been there, and they are not pleased.
I'm going to go with the kicker on this one.
He's not supposed to be there. His time was over.
Yeah.
It's cheerleaders, bro. You can go anywhere on the field.
It's an international game, though. They got to be out there to promote their product, get people interested, get people excited. The cheerleaders are supposed to be there.
It's their job
was
to.
Not.
I'm kind of with Adam on this one. It's their job to.
No, it's fine.
I get wanting to squeeze in your kicks. I get it.
You have your allowed time.
Your time's over.
Yeah.
I remember what video you're talking about, though. That is funny.
But I thought that was interesting and something I thought I'd throw out because I don't think a lot of cheerleading is mentioned. By the way, the Minnesota Lynx are in the playoffs in the WNBA, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
The Timberwolves kicked off, and Anthony Edwards looks like he might have gotten a little bit smoother on his shot, too. So that's pretty cool.
Nice. I'm glad something in Minnesota is going well outside of the Vikings this year.
The Twins not as good.
Yeah.
I think Wild Hockey is going to be kicking off here soon too.
That's true. It's a good point.
I do like Minnesota sports.
Yeah, it turns out we're a big fan of it here on the show.
Who'd have guessed?
Yeah.
Before we go and plug everything, there's Monday night games. If you guys are interested, the Bills and the Jets are playing.
That's Bernie Cat saying hello.
Thank you, Bernie. Yeah, Bills and Jets play in about 45 minutes, so I'm gonna watch some of that game.
I'm going to watch Monday Night Raw, which, by the way, if you haven't noticed, is down to 2 hours once again. 3 hours is a lot.
It's just so wild. This dog, I swear to God, he speaks English. He comes over right when the show is ending every time. Come on, get up here. Come on, get up here.
He knows.
Get up here. You gotta come in and photo bomb. And how do you do this every time? Right
That
when
is a
we're
handsome
doing the
pup, though.
announcements. He is. Yeah, tried to make him fit on my couch today. I bought like not a miniature one, but I bought like the most economic size, like cheap couch you could buy.
Right.
And I laid down to take like a 30-minute nap earlier. And of course he comes over, he's like, I can fit? Like, you can't fit. And he made himself fit on the couch. And I don't know how. You're too big, dude. Would you like to host the show? You got to talk.
So, completely off topic. Do you guys have any ideas for what you're going to do for Halloween costumes this year?
Oh my God! Hold it there. I got mine over here. I got to show everybody.
He's like all pumped about this one. Yeah, I've been working on mine on and off for quite a while, Adam. I think I showed you my Bray Wyatt themed mask I ordered. I ordered on Etsy, so yeah, I have pretty much the full costume for that one. I'm really looking forward to piecing all of that together. I haven't actually worn the full getup yet. The only thing I'm missing are the gloves, and at this point, I've spent more than I should have on the costume. So I don't think I'm going to buy the gloves this year, but that's okay. No one will notice if those are missing.
You guys know I'm a huge Scream fan. You can see that.
Yeah.
I wanted to go with Ghostface. I wanted to take my son, and then my son's mother was like, probably not a stabbing murderer at 7 years old. Maybe we won't do that. I'm like, yeah, you're right. So my son picked out randomly like a ninja costume. It's pretty cool. But I decided to go with the humor this year. So I found this on Amazon.
Oh, boy.
And I'm very pumped to walk around with a bunch of kids with this
There's a
stupid
part of me
thing.
that really loves the funny Halloween costumes.
Well, I saw the one with the alien, like the alien stealing you, but I thought me riding a Velociraptor around would be hilarious. So
that's stuff.
That's hilarious. I like it.
And we got Charlotte in here planning to be Ursula. I'm assuming from The Little Mermaid, which, by the way, as a youngster, Ariel, that was doing it for me.
Who was it? Oh, I'm too typical. I like Jessica Rabbit. She was dreamy.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
Great mind, Smith.
That's all I've got for this week. I want to thank everyone that joined us in chat. We had a great time, and we always enjoy you guys joining the conversation and talking to us about Minnesota Vikings football. It is so great to have you here. And we'll be back next week to talk about what happened in the game against the Detroit Lions. Hopefully we'll have positive things to say. If not, we're going to say some stuff anyway. So I hope you're here for it.
Happy birthday, Charlotte. We appreciate you.
Yeah, she ate 40 chicken nuggets from what I understand.
Nice.
It's a lot of nuggets. She didn't say what sauces, but some good sauces, I'm betting.
Well, it depends. Where are we getting? Are we just like McDonald's sauces? Like what? Where are we getting these sauces from? Because each place has a specific one that I like. Like McDonald's, I'm a hot mustard guy. Hot mustard is awesome.
My buddy Clint is a huge hot mustard guy from McDonald's. If he goes there, he's loading up on that stuff.
I got it by accident one year, and I was like, I don't know if I want this. It doesn't sound. When you read it, you're like, I don't know. And then I tried it, and I was like, oh, this is actually great. So sweet and sour, yeah. If you go to Chick-fil-A, what's your go-to? They have a wide variety of sauces there.
I have only ever been to Chick-fil-A once, and I got a chicken sandwich, so I didn't really get to try too many sauces.
Nice. They're pretty prevalent down here. I like Chick-fil-A sauce, and I like Polynesian. Let's do some plugging in. Hey, if you like the show, please actually like it. Hit the like button. Subscribe on YouTube. Give us some love on Facebook if you're watching there. If you can see it, so I don't know if you guys can see it, but there's a little heart
If
up
you
here.
can leave a review wherever you listen, we'd appreciate that greatly.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. Wherever you get your stuff. If you like us and follow us on Facebook, YouTube.
I do want to thank Scott for reaching out to us last week about an error I had while uploading the podcast, and I got that fixed up, and the show was fixed up within a couple hours. So thanks again to Scott for making sure the show is high quality, because I biffed that one.
Thank you, Scott. Yeah, make sure if you are on YouTube, you can subscribe. If you hit the notification bell, it'll let you know. I like to schedule these things in advance, and you can know when we're going live, so you can tune in and kind of schedule around it. Usually it'll be the day after the game. Usually. We'll see.
Leave a comment on the YouTube channel. I've heard that the YouTube algorithm gods enjoy comments on videos. It helps push it higher up into feeds. So
yeah, just write your favorite Vikings player, or something. Even write a silly word if you like a silly word.
Yeah, hashtag SKOL Vikings, or whatever you want to talk about.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Or your favorite chicken nugget sauce, right? We're
That's
down.
Exactly what we're looking for. Just a bunch of hot mustard comments on all our stuff. That's what I'm here for. Let's do some plugging. Go check out Adam Carlson's work on the Viking age. If you click on an article, it will boost his numbers, which means his paycheck will be nice. And it's really quick and easy. I say this a bunch this year, man. You guys' format that you have on there is much better than the one before. It's very easy to navigate. There's not a lot of clicking. Just go there and support him if you support the show. This is how he makes a living. Moving
away from the slideshow format was awkward, but I think that it was in the best interest of keeping the site reader-friendly, which is good.
Yeah. In the age where we don't like anything to take more than 3 seconds, this is definitely the way to go.
And not to be kind of like selfish in this, but it makes it to where I don't have to write 250 words about each little topic. I can write a paragraph or two and keep it more concise, rather than trying to fluff up articles that I know I don't have to write as much about now.
Nice. Yeah, go support Adam.
Viking you can check me out on social media at MNVikingZombie. You probably aren't watching this on Twitch right now, but if you are on Twitch, at MNVikingZombie is where I am on there, and I want to try to be a little bit more involved on there, but my internet doesn't always let me, so that's kind of sad. But Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, I am on all of those, so hit me up. Make sure you let me know who you are, too, if you hit me up on there, because I am not very keen on accepting strangers, usually. So let me know who you are.
Nice.
You can check me out at Vaguely Square. That is my Blue Sky handle. We talk about Vikings football or whatever else over there on the old social media platform. You can also check out some of my photography work as well. I will be uploading some new prints later on this week. So check that out and share it up on social media. Always helpful to do so.
Do you have any prints?
I don't. I should, but I don't.
Amazing. You can check out Kyle West's photography work, kylewest84.picfair.com. Always going to help you promote that, man. Some great shots.
Appreciate it.
It's that time of year, man. You're about to get some good photos again. Really excited for it. You can follow me on the old Twitter machine or Instagram at NCDogDude if you like. Other than that,
I thought you did PvP with the Dookie symbol, but it's thumbs up, so I'll take that.
Thank you so much. Like I said in the chat, we see you, MC Sports, Lee. Obviously, happy birthday to Charlotte, Jonathan. We appreciate y'all. And Kathy was here before we got started. So we'll see you next week.
Always good to see our regulars, and we'll be back next week. And in the meantime, stay classy, Minnesota.